Hello, welcome back to the fruit of Grisaia. Early the next morning, I'm stretching in preparation for my usual running when I hear quiet footsteps on the stairs. A familiar look of mild surprise. However, where Sakaki's expression would normally shift to a frown, today it changes to something hesitant and uncertain. What's the matter? Your face is red. Still carrying that fever around?
失礼ね。熱ならもうとうの昔に収まったわよ。収まったわよ。あなたのおかげで。
Good to hear.
昨日はいろいろとありがとう。
I didn't do anything worth being thanked for.
したわよ。護衛の依頼のはずなのに、あんなことを一方的に話したりして。
You asked for my permission before you started talking, and I agreed to listen. There's nothing wrong with that.
そう。
I've noticed Sakaki tends to grow oddly sullen when the topic of my job comes up, but today she seems downright docile. The girl does look healthy enough. Still, it's entirely possible yesterday's events left some lingering psychological effects. Sakaki,
何かしら。
as long as your request is in place, I'll protect you. Rest assured, that's all. Finishing my leg stretches, I stand up and check the clock. Just about time for me to be heading out. I'm going to be running for a while, unless you need anything. Alright then, see you this afternoon. Feeling Sakaki's eyes following me from behind, I leave the dorm. I don't have much to offer Sakaki right now. A simple promise is the best I can do. Hopefully that's enough to provide some reassurance. The past can't be taken back no matter how hard you try. That's a lesson I myself learned all too well. All the more reason she has to value her present. Hopefully they've just given up, but fortunately the threats approaching Sakaki have gone quiet for the moment. If this pattern continues, it shouldn't be hard for me to keep my promise. And a few days later, in an echo of Sakaki's past, the hopeful present abruptly takes a sharp turn for the worse. You alright, Sakaki? Can you keep running?
大丈夫。
So she says, but it's obvious at a glance that the girl's close to her limit. Harsh gasps for air interrupt the feeble words coming out of her mouth. Alright. They caught me napping. Seemingly taking my words of regret as their cue. A number of men swiftly surround us, protecting Sakaki behind my back. I confront a semicircle of attackers. This sort of scene has certainly been common enough over the last month. But this time, our opposition is in an entirely different league. Was this what they were aiming for all along? They stopped a car above the riverbank and came down on us suddenly. Up until that point, it was the same as usual. But as my master once told me, relying on precedent is a dangerous game. Always think outside the range of your predictions. A lesson, it seems, I didn't learn nearly well enough. As I readied myself for another simple one-by-one attack, the first 3 men out of the car charged at me simultaneously. Caught by surprise, I faltered for just a moment. They seized their chance and executed a beautifully coordinated attack. The first 2 moved to grab my arms and legs, while the trailing men came straight at me to deliver the disabling blow. The fight would have been over in seconds if I'd misjudged the attacks from the left and right even slightly. Stooping down to avoid their grasping arms, I kicked the first man's ankle and chopped my hand into the second man's liver. Since when do they attack it? I didn't even have time to catch my breath before the third man's fist came down on me from above. Sheer reflex got my elbow up in time to block the punch, but his attacks continued in an unrelenting stream. That hurts, jerk. This guy had some impressive back muscles, and he knew how to use them. His tightly clenched fists swung down at my head with the force of 2 massive hammers. A single direct hit would have given me a concussion at the very least, and a knockout seemed a very real possibility. With a sharp battle cry, I slipped by the hammerman's side and drove my heel into his knee. The hammer stopped in his tracks. As he reflexively reached down for his right leg, I followed up with a second kick, this time to the head. I'd somehow managed to bring down the first wave of attackers, but the dramatic change in their tactics was alarming. I could feel my heart thudding frantically in my chest. If they try that with a bigger team, it's going to get ugly. My instinctive response was to run for it with Michiaki in tow. Unfortunately, our enemies clearly anticipated that. Where they used to have their entire force charged down from the car, this time they set up a second team further along the bank to cut off our retreat. Can't let them all attack at once or it's game over. I carefully size up the group of men surrounding us. One thing's immediately clear. There's not going to be an easy way out this time. Listen up, Michiaki. I'm going for a preemptive strike. Once I open a gap in their perimeter, make a run for it. I'll keep them off your back. There is no time to debate this. Let's go. I break into a sprint, heading for a point where 3 of the 5 men surrounding us can easily move to intercept. As expected, they instantly launch a simultaneous attack, aiming to trap me in a pincer. There we go. I dodged grasping arms from the left and right at the very last possible moment, slipping forward to leave 2 of the men charging directly at each other. The pair of dark-suited men jerked to an unsteady halt like a pair of outfielders chasing the same fly ball. Seizing the moment, I grabbed them by the legs and flipped them off their feet. The 2 men hit the ground head first with a satisfying pair of dunks. Before I can even confirm they're staying down, their bodies get a sleeper chokehold on me from behind. God. But I'd seen this coming from the moment he started circling around behind me. I bend back into the hold, then strain my abdominal muscles and swing my body sharply forward. Tossed over my shoulder in a throw you might see in a judo competition, the man flies a good 2 meters forward before landing face first in the dirt. That's 3 taken care of. Now all I need to do is keep the 2 from coming from behind occupied long enough for Sakaki to get clear. Alright, now, run, Sakaki. Hurry up. Still shooting reluctant glances in my direction, Sakaki begins to run along the river bank. The other 2 attackers quickly try to slip past me and pursue her. Not happening. As the pair splits apart to either side, I hurl a stone tied to a heavy string toward the feet of the faster runner. Tripped up by the cord, the man turns a somersault in the air and lands awkwardly on the ground, one arm crunching loudly underneath him. Even as I'm confirming that he's down, I've begun to grapple with his partner. The moment we come to grips, it's clear to me that I've left the most troublesome one of the bunch for last. His physique didn't particularly stand out in this group, but he's got dense muscles and an excellently balanced body. This is exactly his sort of fight. I was hoping to take him down smoothly and catch up with Sakaki, but guess that's not happening. I can only pray Sakaki manages to get out of here on her own. Silent except for his intermittent breathing, the man moves his body back and forth in a variety of ways, probing for a gap in my defenses. It's a far cry from the frantic wriggling of an amateur. Every movement has meaning. I can't let down my guard for even a moment. Please get out of here. Keeping half an eye on Sakaki, I desperately hold him in check. And just as she's finally reaching the foot of the slope, distracted by the fight behind her, Sakaki stumbles over a heavy patch of undergrowth and falls to the ground. Sakaki! For a split second, her scream distracts me. Dizzyingly intense pain shoots through my left arm. He caught me. I can feel the skin of my arm practically going hot as I suddenly plunge into a tub of boiling water. A small glinting silver knife sticks straight out of my forearm like some absurd work of modern art. My grip on the man weakens against my will. In an instant, he's broken free of the grapple. The corners of his mouth curl up in something vaguely resembling a smile as he turns his attention to Sakaki. Sakaki scrabbles frantically across the ground, her face distorted with terror. As if savoring the moment, the man begins to lope toward her at a relaxed pace. His first moment of carelessness. I won't let you. With one sharp yank, I tear the knife out of my arm, then hurl it at the man's ankle. The man collapses onto the ground and reaches down for his wounded leg. Before he can get his hands around the knife, I straddle him and smash a fist into his solar plexus. Gastric juice spraying from his mouth, the man loses consciousness. I can feel blood flowing rapidly out of my body. Abruptly released from the tension of the fight, exhausted and bleeding, I look up to find the world swaying before my eyes. Michiaki rises to her feet and runs over her. Staring wide-eyed at the blood streaming down my arm, she presses her hands to her mouth, speechless with horror. I'm fine. You need to get out of here, Sakaki. Hurry. It'll be alright once I stop the bleeding. Get moving. There might be more where those guys came from. Completely ignoring my repeated instructions to run, Sakaki reaches into her breast pocket, takes out a handkerchief, and holds it to my wound. The pure white piece of cloth is quickly dyed bright red. Her anguished expression distorts still further. I've heard people say women are a little less queasy around blood because of their regular menstrual cycle, but I doubt that makes an inquiry like this any less surreal and terrifying. Okay. Is that true?
どこを止血すればいいの？私も詳しくないから教えて。
I'm telling you, it's fine. Right now, you need to...
あなた一人残せるわけがないでしょ。早く。
Sakaki's face is filled with uncharacteristically raw and obvious emotion. But then again, lately I've seen quite a few human expressions starting to leak out from behind that indifferent front of hers. In any case, there's no point letting this circular argument drag on forever. We're just wasting time at this point. Fine, tie it lightly just under the elbow. Sorry about the handkerchief, but keep it over the wound itself for now. There should be bandages in my bag. Can you wrap one over the entire area? Appreciate it. With my guidance, Sakaki performs some rudimentary first aid. Soon, I'm back on my feet. The blood loss has left me more than a little lightheaded, but we nonetheless hurry along the road home as quickly as possible. After all, there's no telling what else those people might have planned. The old rules clearly no longer apply. Sakaki hasn't spoken a word, most likely out of concern for me. It's painfully obvious that she's worried, but that only makes this feel even worse. Pathetic. What kind of a bodyguard makes the client worry about them? For the moment, I've got to get us back to safe ground and plan some immediate countermeasures. Their tactics have changed on a fundamental level. We can't get away with the usual routine anymore. Across from the red glow of the setting sun, a flock of black-green clouds push threateningly into the sky as if to reinforce the looming threat. Looks like it's going to be another rainy night.
そうか。傷は負わせることに成功したんだな。次は確実に仕留めろ。ああ、やむを得ん状況ならば殺しても構わん。由美子が暴れるようなら無理にでも車に押し込めて連れてこい。いいな。邪魔はさせん。私は私のやりたいようにやるのだ。私の言うことを聞け、由美子。
おかい。ちょっと。
Understandably, it doesn't take long for Amani to notice that something's wrong. Practically the moment we're inside the dorm, her shocked voice attracts the attention of everyone lounging around in the lobby. As they run up, the blood seems to drain from their faces.
これどうしたのよさ、お兄ちゃん。包帯が真っ赤です。血で。何？事故とか？それとも何かあったの？ねえ。
The lazy summer evening quickly gives way to a borderline panic.
とりあえず病院へ連絡した方がいい？それとも連れて行こうか？
No, there are some complicated circumstances, so I'd prefer not to make too much of a scene. A little treatment here should be enough. Sachi? Sorry, but can you help me out?
はい、わかりました。今すぐ。私も手伝うわ。お湯とか沸かせばいいんだっけ。みちる様、お子さんを産むわけではありません。でも清潔なタオルとかそういうのは必要です。オッケー。
Sachi and Michiru noisily dash back to their respective rooms. Guess I'll head to my room for the moment. Sakaki, would you help me over there?
ええ、もちろんよ。
Appreciate it.
部屋に行って詳しい話を聞くしかなさそうね。妙な匂いがプンプンなのよさ。
A few minutes after Sakaki helped me into bed, Sachi treats my wound with the skill of an experienced nurse. It's no worse than what I would have gotten at the hospital. Our maid's fearsome capabilities in this field are worthy of further examination, but for the moment, explaining the situation to the uneasy classmates gathered around me has to come first.
なんかとんでもない話になってきたわね。
Amani responds to my brief summary with those words in a worried sigh. Everyone had some idea that Sakaki had been coming under attack, but a knife coming into play seems to have left them more than a little disturbed.
ユミちゃんに何もなかったのは幸いだったのよさ。さすがは風見さんです。とはいえ傷は心配ですが。
You don't need to worry about me. Their change in strategy has caught me by surprise today. I won't slip up like that next time.
そうなの。ユミコもユージも大丈夫って思っていいのよね。
Yeah, of course. It's a lie. An attempt to reassure them, nothing more. The ex-military man who knifed me today was a seriously tough opponent, and the others were no slouches either. Even under ideal circumstances, it would have been a tough fight. My failure this time is only going to encourage them to double down on the tough tactics, and while they can bring in fresh bodies, my cuts and bruises are going to start slowing me down eventually. I need to start devising countermeasures sooner rather than later. Sakaki's been very quiet for a while now. Her face is distinctly downcast. It's not like she's the one who stabbed me, but since she's been known to try on occasion, it's probably better not to joke about that. Sorry, but I'm feeling a little tired. Think you could let me sleep for a while?
そっか、了解。じゃあ私らは退散するわね。
Even Amane doesn't seem eager to throw the usual banter around. Understandable under the circumstances. Sakaki, I'm sure today was a little nerve-wracking for you. Being alone might be frightening right now, so why don't you sleep over in someone else's room? Sorry, Sachi, but would you mind?
はい、わかりました。榊さん、行きましょう。わかった。
Let me know immediately if you notice anything suspicious. They haven't tried anything on school grounds so far, but there's no telling what comes next.
Hi, 了解です。
Sakaki barely said a word right up until the moment Sachi hustled her out of the room. That weighs on my mind a little, but even as I try to think it over, I feel myself sinking slowly into unconsciousness. As I sleep, I dream of Sakaki. I see her as a young girl, standing very still in absolute darkness, sobbing endlessly. When I approach, her appearance changes to the young woman I know. But the tears don't stop flowing down her face. No matter what I say to her, Sakaki stands oblivious in the darkness, crying bitter tears. Sakaki, the moment I wake up, I notice an odd sensation enveloping my left hand. The darkened room is silent, but I sense someone's presence nearby. It almost feels like a continuation of the dream, but when I move my eyes to the side, the truth becomes clear. Sakaki. I'm sure Sachi ushered her out of the room. She should be sleeping by now. Instead, she's sitting at my side.
ごめんなさい。起こしてしまったかしら。
It's alright, I got some sleep. Have you been sitting here all this time? She answers with a quiet nod.
どうしても心配だったから。小峰さんの部屋に着いてすぐ戻ってきてしまったの。で、ずっと握っててごめんなさい。
The strange warmth surrounding my left wrist was coming from Sakaki's hands. I don't really mind.
そう。
Sakaki's downturned eyes briefly steal a glance at my face. They are a little bloodshot, and I can see a hint of red in her cheeks. Seems that dream just now might have been accurate in a way.
本当にごめんなさい。
Stroking my hand a little, she speaks in a sincerely apologetic tone. Nothing to worry yourself over. When you're on guard duty, that sort of thing's always a possibility. Let's just be thankful no one ended up in the hospital. From the look on her face, I can tell Sakaki isn't remotely convinced by this line of argument. Look, it's nothing you need to feel guilty about. I accepted your request, so I'll put my body on the line when necessary, even if I get a little banged up. As long as you're safe, that's a success.
成功なわけないでしょ。何を言ってるの。
All of a sudden, her quiet voice grows rough and quavery.
何を言ってるのよ。本当に。こんな気がし。成功なんて。
Seems I chose my words somewhat poorly. Sakaki's reached the end of her endurance. Tears, clearly not the first she shed tonight, fall into my bandaged hand. Sakaki.
ごめんなさい。私、この間からあなたに情けない姿ばかりを。
The quiet crying begins to grow in intensity. Grasping my palm tightly, Sakaki heaves with sobs like a frightened child, teardrops raining from her face. Her voice echoes loudly inside the otherwise hushed room. From outside the window, I can hear the faint sound of water cutting through the air. Come to think of it, the forecast today called for rain a little after midnight. It's exactly the sort of dark, ugly rain Sakaki hates so much.
怖いのよ。怖くて仕方ないの。
After a few minutes of wordless crying, those words slip out of her mouth. Of what?
私のために周囲の人がこんな目に遭うのが本当に怖くて嫌で仕方ないのよ。このままだと風見くんも寮の子たちだって私のせいで嫌な目に遭わせてしまうかもしれない。
Sakaki squeezes down tighter and tighter. A tear lands on top of her rigid, trembling hands, then another.
もうあんなことが本当に。
Losing her mother, betrayed by her father, denied even the chance to make friends, she was pushed into a mocked school built as a gilded cage. On an emotional level, it's not surprising that Sakaki finds this latest breakdown deeply painful. But that's also exactly why I want to do something for her. The job isn't easy under these circumstances, but if I can give her some peace of mind, I honestly don't mind taking a few wins like this. Looking up at Sakaki's miserable face, I find myself regretting that I didn't manage to pass it off as a lighter injury.
あなたは風見くんをこれ以上苦しめるわけにはいかない。
Don't worry about me. I can still do my job, even if...
分かったよ。私、あなたのことを本当に心配しているのよ。
Her voice is desperate, hoarse from the tears. I can't remember the last time I felt such powerful hatred for my own incompetence. Complete silence settles over the room. Sakaki's eyes don't leave mine. With a sorrowful expression on her face, she opens her mouth and speaks sorrowful words.
あなたを解雇します。
What was that? For a moment I wonder if I've misheard. But she doesn't hesitate to confirm my fears.
依頼だからなのよね。私を守ってくれるのは。だからあなたを解雇します。
What are you saying? You saw those people today. Without me around, next time they'll definitely.
構わないわ。それであなたや寮のみんなが無事なら。
To be certain, although they attacked me today, their target is Sakaki alone. If I leave her side, the main threat disappears. Those dangerous goons will probably decrease in number, maybe even disappear altogether. But of course, that's simply because they'll be able to accomplish their objective even without the muscle. I swore I'd protect Sakaki. After making a promise like that, I can't accept her request to abandon her. Sorry, but you're still in danger. I'm not willing to shrug my shoulders and walk away. I refuse to resign.
Dame yo. 強制的にでも破棄する。
Do you know what you're saying here? These people aren't playing around anymore. You're going to...
分かってちょうだい。
Listen to me, Sakaki.
分かって。お願いだから。お願いだから。分かってよ。
Sakaki's expression tells the story. This isn't something she just said on the spur of the moment. It was a painful decision made after a long thought. The tracks her tears have left on her face, the tightly clenched hands. That anguished inner debate has left its mark on her. Marks on her. But just because I understand the depth of her resolve doesn't mean I can accept this. It's painfully frustrating to know my sloppiness drove her to such an agonizing decision. Alright, I accept your dismissal. Sakaki isn't going to budge no matter what I say. For the moment, there's no other way to give her relief. The instant I speak those words, the tension drains out of her hands.
ごめんなさい。私。
It's as if a heavy weight has fallen from her shoulders, as if she's lost something precious. A hollow excuse for a smile on her face, Sakaki continues to apologize to me. Don't apologize, you're not in the wrong. The sound of the rain outside gradually grows louder. A harsh pattering fills the dark room, cut off even from the light of the moon. As of this day, my employment with Sakaki Yumiko came to an end in the form of dismissal. Things are no better than they were at the beginning. No one's being saved. It's the emptiest of all possible conclusions. We need to find out what they want. My contract with Sakaki is at an end. I'm no longer obligated to guard her. Our classmates were uniformly surprised by the news, but they haven't pestered Sakaki about her reasons. I think they've more or less figured out why she made that painful decision. Makino, you ready to go? Amani had a shopping list too, didn't she? Don't forget it, or things might get scary later. Okay, kid, you're just off character now. Don't tally-ho me. Makino? Her feet pattering noisily against the carpet, Makino heads up to Amani's room. On the other side of the lobby, Sachi's stooping slightly in the attentive pose of an old-time newspaper reporter, jotting down Sakaki's words in a small notepad.
Hi, わかりました。ごめんなさい。あまり外に出るわけにもいかないから。いいんです。遠慮されずに何でもお申し付けください。ありがとう。
but there's no scoop involved. We're going out for a shopping trip, so Sakaki's asking us to pick up a few things, just like Amane.
じゃあ風見さん行きましょうか。
Yeah. Answering my younger classmates, I glance to the far side of the lobby. Sakaki's been reading on a sofa at the side of the large front windows for a while now, but from the desultory way she's picking through the pages, I think it's safe to say she isn't particularly focused on the story. She glances up from the page briefly. Our eyes meet from across the room. Sakaki looks away, gets to her feet, and walks off in the direction of her room.
風見さん
Right, yeah, about time we got going. Since relieving me of my position, Sakaki hasn't set foot outside the school's walls. That's partially because of her own instinct for self-preservation, and partially because of me. The girl's decided it's no longer possible to actively protect herself against the clear threat posed by those attackers. She dismissed me so I wouldn't be dragged into a losing battle on her behalf. But even after that, I've continued keeping an eye on Sakaki, if more indirectly than before. I try to keep my distance, but I'm never too far away to respond in case something happens. I think Sakaki's faintly aware of that. It's probably part of the reason she's shutting herself up in the dorm instead of going outside and making my life harder. It's not like she's come out and told me any of this, of course, but considering her behavior until now, it seems like a natural interpretation. Sakaki defiantly rejected the life of a bird in a cage, acting as she pleased even in the face of threats, but now she's locked up once again. My determination to protect the girl is part of what's now fencing her in. It's honestly pretty frustrating. Amane's shopping list isn't too huge today, and my young classmates only need a few things themselves, all of which we find easily enough. That said, the total time investment on this trip turns out to be fairly sizable.
ユミちゃんのオーダーは細かくてめんどっちいのよさ。
Sakaki's shopping list reflects her personality. It's neatly and methodically written, even naming specific manufacturers and product numbers. And Sachi insisted we conduct a painstaking hunt for the exact items described, so this final part of the trip is taking longer than the rest combined.
Demo, ここまで細かく言っていただけると買う方としては助かります。
Sachi smiles peacefully, allowing the eco-friendly reusable stopping bags dangling from her hands to sway back and forth. Naturally, she brought enough of those things for all of us. Not that it's anything new, but you're sure on top of things, Sachi.
はい、備えあれば憂いなしと申しますから。すべてにおいて通じる言葉です。
Yeah, true enough. They love that cliche in my workplace too.
避妊用品も常に持ち合わせていれば、あ、と思った際にも慌てずに済みますよね。つまりはそういうことです。
Alright, sure. It's a bit late to lament my role in the rising levels of vulgarity around here, but... when a girl who comes off as innocence personified starts talking like this, I can't help feeling a little guilty. But then again, lately I've been starting to think a good part of the problem might lie inside Sachi herself. But as I'm considering the matter, Sachi comes to a stop with a small surprise sound. She's gazing a little way down the street with a curious expression on her face. What's wrong, Sachi? I turn to follow her gaze. What is that woman doing? A certain blonde has parked herself by the side of the road.
もう遅い。
Ensconced in the driver's seat of her tacky bright yellow sports car, she kicks her bare legs into the air in a tacky display of irritation, turning every male head in the area. She's putting on a big show of waiting for someone, looking down at her watch with a pouty expression of boredom, occasionally even whining to her audience. An accurate evaluation. As I bring a hand to my forehead and sigh heavily, the bare-legged blonde in question turns in our direction. And with a greeting more appropriate for a co-ed hitchhiker stranded in the Utah desert, she favors me with a nauseatingly sweet smile. Oh, what? Why did he describe her like that? Alright, let's go. No reason to hang around here all day. Studiously avoiding eye contact, I attempt to play dumb. His descriptions are so specific sometimes.
ちょっと何無視ってんのよ。こっちは1時間もこうして待ってたのよ。ガン無視ってことはないでしょ。ねえってば。
Abruptly switching to fluent and idiomatic Japanese you'd never expect from someone with her appearance, JB calls to stop me. I obey, feeling my face settle in an expression of profound irritation. What's this? Here I was thinking the owner of some cheap sexual decided to announce his grand opening by renting a walking billboard bimbo, but I guess it's just my good friend JB doing her thing. What can I do for you?
これまで功労者として多めに見てきたけど、その暴言はもはや許せないわ。風見裕二。
Look, JB, I'm not particularly criticizing you. I have the greatest respect for your professional capabilities. All I'm saying is, given your age, it might be time to quit this hobby of wandering around town in clueless foreigner mode while the old man interests you with their eyes. No offense intended.
あんた絶対に次の移動でアフガンかソマリアに飛ばしてやるから覚悟しときなさいよね。
That might be a nice change of pace. I'm currently unemployed, you see. It really makes you realize the importance of having a nice steady job.
Huh? 何言ってるの？あなた今。
Halfway through the sentence, JB bites her tongue. Sachi and Makina are at my side, and we're in the middle of a public street full of random civilians. Not exactly the time or place to discuss my job.
学生なのに無職とは面白いご身分ね。
Well, I suppose not. That's why I'm enjoying a lazy summer vacation instead of polishing my resume.
話があるんだけど、これから少し付き合わない？
What, right now?
ええ、すぐに。
Sounds like another troublesome discussion awaits. JB's still got a lighthearted expression on her face, but she spoke those words just now in a familiar deadpan tone of voice. From years of experience, I know it means this is somehow related to work. Sorry, but would you two mind going back first?
はい、わかりました。なんだよ、フレッシュな小娘2人放置プレイでそっちの存在感のない金髪とんのか。お兄ちゃんってそんな熟女好きだったか？存在感のない金髪。ちなみに存在感ある金髪ってのはチルチルのことな。ありゃ忘れようと思っても無理な話やで。存在感。
Interesting how that part bothers you more than the mature women crack.
ほらマキちゃん、風見さん困ってるよ。わーったよ。お兄ちゃん、ちゃんとおいたせずにまっすぐ帰ってくるのよ。
Never thought Makino would be the one saying that to me. The times are truly changing.
それじゃあ春寺さん、失礼します。風見さん、先に戻りますね。
Sorry about that. Sachi promptly leaves, dragging a grumbling Makino along with her.
存在感ないかな。結構目立つと思ってたんだけどな。
Don't take the kid's crap seriously. Come on, let's get going already. Why is it that all the women in my life, regardless of age and personality, uniformly manage to give me headaches? Sakaki's begun to shut herself up in her room. Obviously, her visits to the riverbank have stopped as well. After a few minutes zipping down country roads in JB's ridiculously flashy car, the two of us take a seat near the otherwise deserted area where the incidents occurred.
So, やっぱり個人的に護衛を頼まれていたのね。
And I wasn't specifically restricted from accepting, but in any case, it's been over for a few days now. For the moment, I explained the details of my recent unemployment to JB. I'd expected her to be a little more surprised about Sakaki's request and my decision to accept it, but she doesn't even bat an eyelid. Kind of kills my momentum. I suppose JB may have done a little investigation on her own part as part of this whole thing with Sakaki's father. Once I've more or less finished my story, JB pushes a prettily wrapped lunchbox in my direction. Sandwiches, eh? Wise choice, Julia. I suppose even you'd be able to make these without turning the kitchen into too much of a disaster zone. The weirdly girlish packaging is also a little painful to look at, but I decided best to keep that particular thought to myself.
Yuuji, あれから私だって多少は料理も上達したって食べる前に一言ぐらい言ってから食べなさいよ。
I did say something, didn't you hear me? Why the exasperation? I'll apologize if I did something wrong.
もういいわよ。食べながらでいいからちょっと話を聞きなさい。
JB retrieves a small notebook from her black file case, her voice shifting to a business-like tone. As directed, I listened carefully while chewing away at her egg sandwiches.
先日市ヶ谷の本家で人事異動があったのは知ってるわね。
Yeah, they sent a message around. The chief of staff resigned and they appointed a successor, right?
いつもの勢力争いの結果だけどね。ただちょっと困ったことがあって、後任となった門間陸将補は国交省と強いパイプを持っている人間で、主に私鉄関連の財界人と深い交流を持っていたの。
Oh.
陸将補は早速こちらに接触してきたわ。異例なのよね。お偉方が就任早々、私たちみたいな下々のことに気をかけるなんて。何か理由がない限り、そんなことはありえない。一体なぜかしらね。
To deliver some instructions about the situation with Sakaki's father, I'd imagine. East Beach lacked direct influence over our company, but now they've got a way to pressure us. Maybe even give us marching orders.
正解かどうかは私の立場からは言えないわね。ただ陸将補からは風見雄二には別の兵の中に入ってもらった方がいいのではという話も出ていたわ。笑いながらだったから冗談のつもりなんだろうけど、内心はどう思っているんだか。
This really is a fantastic job, despite the crappy salary. First I'm pushed into a mission, then I'm yanked abruptly off it, and in the end, I get a nice trip to the doghouse for my trouble. Our employee benefit program is a shining example to the world.
ねえユージ、ことはもう国レベルの話になってきているの。あなた一人が動いてどうなるような話じゃない。
What are you telling me to do?
学園から去って榊由美子と関係を断ちなさい。そうしないと今度は命令をもってあなたに相対することになってしまう。
I see. So keeping me off the operation itself isn't enough for them anymore. Now they want to keep me away from Sakaki herself. This whole thing has been a headache from the start, and it's clearly only getting worse. However, there's one element of JB's story that's been bothering me for some time. Sakaki's father interfering with public assets on behalf of his private interests is understandable, if legally dubious, but on a more fundamental level, the plot's full of holes. The vague initial orders, the lack of support, the artificial abduction attempts, and the obvious radical change after Sakaki Yumiko hired me. Under a certain hypothesis, these contradictions all begin to make sense. Hey JB, there's one thing I want to ask you.
何よ。
Up until now, I assumed Sakaki's father had learned about a threat to his daughter's safety, and was taking a variety of measures to protect her.
Soよ。それが何か。
But considering all the events up until now, their relationships within the Sakaki family, and this odd pressure from the chief of staff. I've started to think that the real threat to Sakaki Yumiko may be her own father. Any thoughts on that hypothesis? It had been in the back of my mind all along. If Sakaki Michiaki's objective was simply to protect his daughter, including inducing Ichigaya to take me off the job despite my success would make very little sense. But if the man's goals are exactly the opposite, things start to fall into place. He was probably trying to intimidate his daughter at first, and I was deployed to serve as some sort of prop in that play. The attacker's constant complaints about what they signed up for might have referred to a scripted scenario handed down from their employer. In any case, at the present moment, the identity and goal of Sakaki Yumiko's enemy appears very clear. Her father's the one trying to abduct her. Isn't that right, JB? Her face hard and expressionless, JB quietly casts her eyes down. That's more than enough of an answer for me.
私が答えられないと分かっていて聞いているのでしょどうせ
Sorry, Julia.
もう
JB has her own position to consider. Middle management in my company means dealing with highly confidential matters. I can't even guess how many secrets she's obligated to keep. And JB is the very model of an uber professional German, with a deeply ingrained reverence for playing by the rules. Nonetheless, I'm constantly using personal emotions in our shared history with my master to try and pry information out of her. I'm probably going straight to hell based on my treatment of women alone. Well, not that I have the slightest qualifications for heaven in any other respect. I'm worried about Sakaki. Think I'll be getting back to the dorm now.
本当にいいのこのままで
I'm going to be in danger if I continue interfering in the Sakaki family squabble. And from what JB's told me about Ichigaya's internal situation, there's a real chance my own people might end up trying to kill me. Sakaki's alone. If I leave, she'll lose what little she has left. Now that I've learned about Sakaki's past, closing my eyes and abandoning her is no longer an option. The girl spent her whole life profoundly isolated, and now, yet again, a group of self-centered adults are trying to tear her life apart. Although she cut herself off from others as a means of self-defense, somewhere deep down, Sakaki's still desperately looking to be rescued. I don't know if I can save her, but if my interference can create a positive change in her life, I'm going to keep interfering. I owe that much to the woman who pulled me free of the same dark swamp Sakaki's trapped in.
ねえユージ
What?
あなたひょっとしてユミコのことが好きなの
Why is it that women always go straight for the romantic explanation? You're no better than those wearing gossips in the dorm.
違うって言い切れる
At the very least, that's not what this is about. Probably something closer to sympathy.
同情ね
JB responds in an ambiguous tone that suggests she's only half convinced.
市ヶ谷を含め監視は厳しくなるわよ場合によっては国に歯向かうようなことにもなりかねないわ
Well, Yuuji. Suppose so.
もう一度
ちゃんと考えて。ユージ、あなた自身のこともね。
Her voice seemed a little lonely at the end. A bright yellow car badly out of place on the shabby country road roars around the bend and disappears. The edge of the sky reddens little by little. Clouds begin to gather overhead, suggesting an evening shower to come. JB says difficult things sometimes. Turning over her final words in my mind, I slowly begin to walk the road home. Sheesh. Yeah, you're picking a very big fight with this Yuuji. I don't know if this is going to turn out very well for you if you keep doing this. Well, you're aware of what you're doing now. I don't know what you're going to do about it, but we'll just have to see. Good luck, Yuuji. Good luck. This is very scary for you, for sure. Bye.